The legacy of silence. The council chamber was no longer a place of power. Once it had been the heart of the galaxy, a hall where empires bent the stars to their will. Now it was only a ruin of arguments and broken pride. The empty human chairs still stood at the center, untouched, unclaimed, silent. Delegates avoided looking at them, yet could not turn away. They were like gravestones carved from shame. Every alien leader felt their gaze drawn to them, as if the chairs themselves judged their souls. High Chancellor Razik sat heavy on his throne. His robes, once shining, now seemed dull. His voice was cracked when he finally spoke. "It is over. We are no longer rulers. We are prisoners of our own corruption. The humans saw it first. We refused to listen. And now they leave us with the truth we cannot escape." The chamber stayed quiet. For the first time in centuries, no one interrupted, no one shouted, no one argued. The silence was not forced by fear, but by realization. Outside, the galaxy was unraveling. Fleets refused to fight for leaders exposed as liars. Colonies declared independence, trade collapsed. And yet in every world, in every whisper, the same question was asked. What if the humans return? It was not war they feared. It was judgment. In a faraway colony once protected by Earth, an old miner looked at the sky. "They don't need to return," he told the young workers beside him. "They already won. They left us with our own reflection, and we can't bear to see it." On a quiet farming world, a child asked her mother, "Why did the humans leave?" The mother's eyes filled with sorrow. "Because we failed them." On a war world, a general stood before his troops. "We once believed the humans were weak. Now we see they are stronger than all of us combined. Not by fleets, not by weapons, but by truth." Back in the council chamber, the final meeting began. Many chairs were empty, their delegates gone, their governments fallen. The ones who remained looked broken. Their scales, shells, and robes no longer gleamed. They looked like beings stripped bare. Counselor Venera rose slowly. Her voice was softer than ever before. "We cannot hide anymore. The humans forced us to face ourselves. And what do we see? We see greed. We see blood. We see centuries of lies. The council is not unity. It is a machine of power. And without humans to balance it, it collapses." Dresk twitched nervously, mandibles clicking. "Then what do we do?" No one answered at first. Then Thekar spoke, his shadow long across the floor. "Perhaps the answer is not in what we do. Perhaps it is in what we stop doing. Stop conquering. Stop exploiting. Stop pretending we are gods over the galaxy. Perhaps that is the only way forward." The High Chancellor closed his eyes. "And if we fail?" Thekar's voice was quiet, but certain. "Then humanity will not need to return. Their silence will finish what they started." The chamber grew still once more. No vote was taken that day. No decree was passed. The council, once the most powerful voice in the stars, dissolved into silence. Across the galaxy, the legend spread. Songs were sung, stories told, myths written. Children grew up hearing the tale. The humans did not fight. The humans did not conquer. They simply walked away, and the galaxy trembled. And somewhere far beyond the rim, human fleets waited. Not in anger, not in war, but in patience. Watching, listening, ready to see if the galaxy would change or destroy itself. The final image lingered. The council chamber, cold and broken, with 3 human chairs still standing. Silent, eternal, untouched. The humans had departed quietly, but their silence spoke forever. The unexpected message. The council chamber was drowning in fear. Every meeting grew darker. Every word from the delegates was sharper, filled with hidden panic. Yet still, the human chairs remained empty, silent, untouched. Delegates argued day after day. Some demanded fleets be sent to hunt for humanity. Others warned against such madness. But all their voices ended in the same question. Why had the humans left? The galaxy trembled under the weight of that silence. Then one night the silence broke. It began in the deep hours, when the chamber was almost empty. Only guards and a few assistants remained, keeping records of the day's chaos. Suddenly, the vast screens above the chamber lit up. A signal had arrived. "Who sends this?" a guard asked, alarmed. The answer came at once. The symbol of Earth flickered onto the screen. The crest of humanity. Every sound in the chamber died. Word spread, like fire through the Capitol. Delegates rushed back from their quarters. By the time the High Chancellor arrived, the chamber was packed, filled with eyes wide in terror and hope. The screen brightened. A human face appeared. It was not a soldier, not a leader, not even a famous figure. It was an ordinary man, middle-aged, with lines of weariness but a gaze of steel. He stood in a plain room, no banners, no armies behind him, only silence. When he spoke, his voice was calm. Too calm. "We will not return." The words echoed across the chamber. Dozens of alien leaders shifted uncomfortably, their scales, shells, and skin prickling. The man continued. "We sat in your council. We spoke of justice. We spoke of peace. We asked for mercy for the weak. You ignored us. We asked for truth. You laughed at us. We warned of corruption. You buried it. You..." His voice grew harder, though never louder. "You believe our silence means surrender. You are wrong. Our silence is judgment. You have always claimed to be rulers of the galaxy. Then rule it without us. Answer not to us, but to yourselves." The screen flickered. His eyes seemed to stare directly into the souls of every counselor. "You wanted us gone. Now we are gone. But you will answer. Not to us, not to fleets, not to weapons, to your own crimes. And there is no escaping them." The 18th message ended. The screen went dark. For a moment the chamber was silent again, but it was not the same silence as before. This silence was suffocating, crushing, filled with terror. Lord Halveth broke it first, his voice cracked with fury. "This is a threat. They mean to return. They are planning war." Venara shook her scaled head. "No. That was no threat. That was a verdict." The car's long shadow shifted across the floor as he whispered, "They are telling us the truth. They do not need to return. Their words are enough. Their absence is enough. We already destroy ourselves." The chamber erupted in chaos. Some demanded retaliation. Some demanded confession. Some begged for reconciliation, though no path remained. But all of them felt the same fear. The message was not a promise of war. It was worse. It was final. Across the galaxy, the transmission spread within hours. Every world, every colony, every ship heard the words. On the rim, miners listened in silence, then nodded. The humans always told us the truth. On a farming world, a child asked, "If they will not return, who will keep us safe?" No one answered. On the homeworld of the Dryac, soldiers listened in their barracks, and even the bravest felt a chill. "They are not gone," one whispered. "They are watching." The message had no fleets, no weapons, no fire. Yet it carried more weight than any army. It told the galaxy one simple truth. The humans had chosen silence, and that silence was heavier than war. Back in the council chamber, the High Chancellor sat in his chair, his face pale. He spoke slowly, each word shaking with dread. "They did not need to fight us. They did not need to strike us. They left us with something far worse. Ourselves." And every delegate knew he was right. The humans were gone, but their judgment had only just begun. The council crumbles. The chamber that once ruled the galaxy was breaking apart. The human message still echoed in every mind. "We will not return, but you will answer." Those words were heavier than fleets. They turned unity into suspicion, pride into shame. And now, the council was tearing itself apart. Lord Halveth rose to his feet, slamming his armored fist on the table so hard the stone cracked. We cannot sit and tremble like cowards. We are the council. We command fleets that span 1,000 stars. If humans wish to shame us, let us strike first. Hunt them down, crush them, show the galaxy we are not afraid. His voice thundered through the chamber, but no one applauded. Councillor Venera's scaled face twisted in anger. Strike at what, Halveth? Empty stars? Empty chairs? They left nothing for us to fight. You would send fleets against shadows. Shadows stronger than you. Halveth's mandibles clicked furiously, but her words were true. There was no enemy to strike, only silence. The Car, wrapped in his long dark robes, spoke quietly but with sharp edge. And tell me, Lord Halveth, if you strike at shadows, what then? When your fleets vanish into the void, who will they return to? The humans? Or your guilt? The chamber stirred. Whispers rose among the delegates. Some began accusing others. The records humans left had named worlds exploited by greed, wars fought for profit, and votes corrupted with blood. Those who were guilty now felt every eye turned toward them. You knew about this, one delegate shouted at another. Your empire stripped a colony bare while humans begged for mercy. And yours sent fleets to burn cities, another accused. Old alliances cracked. Old lies shattered. For centuries they had hidden behind the power of unity. But now the veil was gone, pulled away by silence. The chamber erupted into chaos. Voices screamed over each other. Some demanded confessions, others demanded punishment. Some spoke of dissolving the council altogether. The High Chancellor slammed his staff against the floor, but even his authority crumbled. The chamber no longer obeyed. Outside, the capital shook with unrest. News of the human message had spread. Citizens marched in protest. Colonies sent angry transmissions. Armies hesitated, uncertain whether to obey orders from leaders exposed as corrupt. The fear of humans was no longer only about their return. It was about the truth they had left behind. The galaxy now saw the council not as protectors, but as predators. Inside the chamber, Venera's voice cut through the shouting. Do you not see? This is what they wanted. Not revenge, not conquest, exposure. They needed no armies because the truth is sharper than any blade. And now it cuts us all. Some delegates lowered their heads. Others shouted louder to drown their guilt. But no one could escape the truth. Councillor Dresk, twitching with fear, spoke in a trembling voice. Perhaps we should step down. Dissolve the council before it collapses on its own. Halveth roared with rage. Coward! Without the council, the galaxy will burn in chaos. The Car's dark eyes glimmered. It already burns, Lord Halveth, and it is not humans who lit the fire, it was us. The silence that followed was heavier than war. For the first time, the chamber smelled of fear, not power. Every leader looked not at humans, not at enemies, but at themselves. And what they saw was corruption, betrayal, greed, the very things humanity had warned about. Ships that once flew the council's banners now drifted in hesitation. Soldiers whispered in their barracks. Colonies declared independence. Trade routes broke apart. The galaxy was no longer under one order. The council crumbled piece by piece, not with war, but with truth. And above it all, the empty human chairs stood untouched, glowing like silent judges in the chamber of chaos. Do you not see, he demanded. This silence is worse than war. If they had sent fleets, we would know what to do. If they had sent threats, we could answer with words. But they left us nothing, only ourselves. And what do we see when we look at ourselves? His words shook the chamber. Delegates lowered their eyes. They saw greed, corruption, betrayal, the very things humans had called out for years. Councillor Halveth, who once mocked humans openly, now slammed a fist on the table again, but with less fire. Then what are we to do? Beg for their return? Crawl on our knees like children? Venera turned from the window, her scaled face grim. Perhaps not beg, but perhaps confess. Confess? Halveth barked. Confess what? The truth. Venara said coldly. That the humans were right. That the council is not noble. That it is corrupt. That it feeds on the weak. And now, the humans leave us to answer for those deeds. The silence grew heavy once more. For the first time in centuries, alien leaders felt something they had never admitted. Shame. The echoes of the past were no longer whispers. They were a roar pressing against every mind in the chamber, and still the human seats remained empty. The hidden records, the council chamber grew restless. The empty human chairs seemed to glow in the minds of every delegate, as if their silence was a spotlight shining on hidden truths. The High Chancellor had ordered investigations into humanity's sudden departure, but all reports returned the same. The humans had not only left. They had erased their presence. Their embassies were cleared overnight, their databanks wiped, their starships slipped away without leaving a trace on scanners. Even their colonies appeared strangely quiet, as though an entire people had vanished into shadows. Councillor Thakar of the Alari Union moved slowly across the chamber floor, his dark robe whispering over the stone tiles. He carried a data crystal in his hand, recovered from the lower archives. He placed it on the council table, and the lights dimmed as a projection flickered to life. It was a human message. The chamber leaned forward. A man appeared, his face worn with age, his eyes steady but tired. His voice was calm, but each word struck like a blade. You will not listen to us in life. Perhaps you will listen to us in absence. You sit in this chamber and call yourselves guardians of order, but you have built your order from the bones of the weak. You exploit, you plunder, you silence voices that cry for mercy. We spoke, and you mocked us. We warned, and you ignored us. Now we are gone, and you will answer to yourselves. The message ended. Silence filled the chamber, heavier than before. Lord Halveth's fists clenched tight. His voice trembled with anger. Propaganda. They try to shame us with their arrogance. This proves nothing. But deep inside, he knew the words were true. Venara's scaled eyes narrowed as she spoke. This is not the only message. I have found others in my Dominion archives, buried, locked under codes humans planted long ago. The car's dark gaze shifted toward her. And what do those messages say? Venera hesitated. Her voice dropped low, but every delegate heard it. They list names. Worlds where the council acted in greed. Worlds where blood was spilled to fill the coffers of empires. They kept records. Every betrayal, every crime. The humans knew everything. Gasps spread through the chamber. Delegates exchanged uneasy glances. Some turned pale. Others looked away. Councillor Dresk's mandibles clicked nervously. You mean they were watching us all this time? Keeping count of our sins? Venera's lips curled. Yes, and now they leave us with those sins exposed. The High Chancellor stood slowly. His towering figure cast long shadows across the chamber. His voice was calm, but behind it burned unease. Bring all records forward. Every human message, every trace they left behind. We will see what they wanted us to face. For hours, projections filled the chamber. Human voices. Men, women, young, old, speaking truth after truth. Some spoke of wars where the council had crushed small colonies to display power. Others told of planets stripped bare for resources, leaving children starving. Each message was sharp, clear, undeniable. And the aliens listened in silence, their pride shattered, their justifications weak. One message echoed louder than the rest. A human woman, her eyes blazing with quiet fury, stared directly into the recorder. You claim strength, yet you prey on the weak. You claim wisdom, yet you ignore truth. You claim order, yet you sow chaos. We came here to believe in unity, but unity built on corruption is nothing. We depart not because we are defeated, but because you already defeated yourselves. The message faded, but her words lingered. Lord Halveth slammed the table again, his voice desperate. This is manipulation. They seek to divide us, But his words died as he saw the faces around him. The other delegates no longer looked at the humans with mockery. They looked at themselves, and they did not like what they saw. Thekar's voice was quiet, almost a whisper, but it carried across the chamber. Perhaps they were not leaving us messages. Perhaps they were leaving us mirrors. The council chamber grew still. Outside the tall windows, the capital's spires gleamed under the light of distant suns. But inside, shadows grew heavy, pressing against every mind. For the first time in centuries, the mighty Galactic Council did not argue, did not debate, did not shout. Instead, they sat in uneasy silence, forced to confront the hidden records humanity had left behind. And deep within that silence, fear began to grow. What if the humans had not vanished? What if they were waiting? The fear spreads. The records had shaken the Galactic Council, but the storm did not stop inside that chamber. Beyond the shining walls of the capital world, whispers began to spread across the stars. Every trader, every soldier, every colony spoke of the same thing. The humans were gone. At first, some believed it was rumor. How could a species that had stood so boldly in the council vanish overnight? But as days passed, the truth became undeniable. Human embassies stood empty. Their fleets had left the known lanes. Their colonies had gone silent. And in the silence, fear grew. On the outer rim, a mining captain stared at the stars. If the humans are gone, he muttered to his crew, who will hold the raiders back? His voice trembled, for he remembered the day a human ship had come to rescue them from pirates. They had not asked for payment, only justice. Now that shield was gone. On a distant agricultural world, farmers gathered in worry. The council never helped us, one said bitterly. It was the humans who brought food when our crops failed. What happens when the next famine comes? The fear was not only among the weak. Even the powerful grew restless. The Tsar Empire, known for its brutal fleets, held secret meetings. If the humans had left to prepare for war, then the galaxy itself would shake. Inside the council chamber, tension cracked like lightning. Lord Halveth, red with anger, stood tall. Do you not see what is happening? Their silence is spreading chaos. Worlds are doubting us. Fleets are hesitating. Even our soldiers whisper in fear. We must act before the galaxy unravels. Counselor Venara's scaled face tightened. Act how? Against what? There is no fleet, no demand, no threat, only silence. You cannot strike silence with weapons. Her words cut sharp. Counselor Dresk clicked his mandibles. Perhaps the silence is the weapon. Humans knew this. They knew leaving us would strike, deeper than any warship. The High Chancellor's voice rose, deep and commanding. We must not let fear guide us. If we crumble now, we prove them right. But even as he spoke, he felt it himself. The unease, the crawling thought that somewhere unseen the humans were watching. The fear spread not only in minds but in action. Trade slowed. Borders grew tense. Alliances shifted. Species that once trusted the Council began preparing their own defenses. If humans could abandon the galaxy, who else might follow? The Council tried to silence the rumors, but it was useless. On a war world of the Draic Confederacy, soldiers whispered in their barracks. What if they return, stronger? What if they bring fleets we cannot see? On a merchant station, traders spoke in hushed voices. The humans did not vanish. They are waiting to strike when we are weakest. Every whisper added fuel to the fire. One evening, the council chamber echoed with raised voices. Lord Halveth demanded fleets be sent to the human borders to prove strength. We must show the galaxy that the council is not afraid, he roared. But Venara answered coldly. Send fleets against empty stars? You will look like fools. Worse, you will look guilty. The humans left us with our own shame. You cannot fire cannons at shame. The chamber fell into bitter silence. Then Thekar spoke, his voice soft but clear. Perhaps this is their true strategy. They leave us with our crimes and they do not need to return. The galaxy itself will destroy us. The words sank deep. No one argued. Far away in the dark between stars, human ships moved silently. They were not seen, not heard. But to those who feared, it did not matter. The idea of humans, unseen but present, was enough to break the courage of entire empires. On the capital world, children looked at the empty human embassy and asked questions their parents could not answer. Why did the humans leave? Will they come back? The parents had no answers, only silence. The fear had spread too far to stop. It grew in markets, in barracks, in halls of power. It grew even in the hearts of those who once mocked humanity, because now they understood the truth. Humans did not need to fight to win, they only needed to leave. The silent departure. The great chamber of the Galactic Council was never silent. For centuries it had been filled with voices of alien delegates, proud, arrogant, loud, and sometimes fearful. But today, something was wrong. The silence was not natural. It carried weight like a storm waiting to break. Rows of tall windows cast pale light across the shining black floor. The council table stretched long and wide, built of smooth stone taken from a dead world long ago. Around it stood dozens of alien leaders, each from powerful civilizations across the galaxy. They were used to arguments, debates, and shouting matches. But now they stood uneasy. The seats of humanity were empty. 3 chairs had been built for them, carved differently from the rest. Simple, but strong. Every alien knew those chairs well. For years the humans had sat there, sometimes quiet, sometimes fiery, but always unshaken. Today those chairs were bare, as if abandoned in the middle of a war. Councillor Dresk of the Tsar Empire was the first to break the silence. His long, insect-like limbs twitched as his mandibles clicked. "Where are the humans?" His voice echoed sharp and cold. No one answered at first. Councillor Vanara of the Sylth Dominion leaned forward, her scaled face tight with suspicion. "Their ships left orbit 2 nights ago, every one of them. They did not request permission. They did not even file departure codes. They simply vanished." Gasps filled the chamber. The idea of a species abandoning the council was unthinkable. The council was power. The council was law. No one simply walked away. Lord Halveth of the Dryke Confederacy slammed a heavy fist against the table. The sound rang like a hammer striking steel. "Then they are guilty of defiance." "No one disrespects this chamber and walks free. We should send fleets to pursue them, bring them back in chains." His words sparked murmurs, but none dared agree openly. They all remembered what humans had done before. Humans were different. They were younger than most galactic civilizations, yet they had risen quickly. Too quickly. Many had laughed when Earth first entered the Council, calling them fragile and reckless. But laughter had died when humans showed how stubborn they were in war, how clever they were in peace, and how unyielding they were in survival. Now, their absence was louder than any speech. Councillor Thakar of the Iolari Union, tall and thin, like a shadow wrapped in robes, raised one long hand. His voice was soft but steady. "Perhaps this is no defiance. Perhaps it is a message." The chamber stirred uneasily. "A message?" Lord Halveth growled. "What message is silence?" Thakar's dark eyes narrowed. "The most powerful one." The council chamber grew tense again. Every delegate felt it in their bones. The humans had not left in anger. They had not fired weapons, not made threats. They had simply walked away, leaving the galaxy to wonder why. A younger delegate, barely old enough to sit among the council, spoke timidly. "Perhaps they are weak. Perhaps they could no longer carry the burden of council politics. Their worlds are small compared to ours, their fleets fewer. Maybe they fled." But even as he spoke, he did not believe it. No one did. The humans had faced wars, famines, disasters. They had faced enemies far stronger and still endured. Weakness was not in their nature. Lord Halveth growled again, restless. "We cannot let this stand. If the humans leave, what message does it send to the rest of the galaxy? That the council is nothing? That we are corrupt? Venera's scaled lips curled. Perhaps we are. The words hit the chamber like thunder. Dozens of alien eyes turned toward her. She did not flinch. You all remember, she continued, her voice sharp. The votes where humans stood against us. They called for justice when we sought profit. They called for mercy when we chose conquest. They said the council had blood on its hands. Whispers spread quickly. The memory was fresh. Humans had spoken against wars, against exploitation, against corruption. At times they were ignored. At times they were mocked. But their words had never been forgotten, and now their silence screamed louder than their protests ever had. Dresk clicked his mandibles nervously. Then you believe this is judgment? Venara nodded slowly. Not judgment. Exposure. They have left us alone with our sins. The chamber fell silent once more. Outside the vast windows, the skyline of the capital world shimmered in pale light. Towering spires reached into the sky, and ships moved like insects across the horizon. Yet inside, it felt as though the galaxy itself was holding its breath. Finally, from the far side of the table, a voice rose. It belonged to High Chancellor Razik, the one chosen to guide the council. His voice was calm, but beneath it lay a crack of unease. The humans have departed, he said, but do not mistake their silence for surrender. Do not mistake their absence for weakness. They leave us with questions we do not wish to answer. And until we face those questions, we will live in fear. The chamber stirred again. Fear. That was the word none wanted to speak, yet all felt. For deep inside, every delegate knew the truth. Humans never acted without reason. If they left, it was because they had seen something in the council that could no longer be tolerated. And if they were truly gone, then the council was left not with enemies, but with itself. That night, across the galaxy, rumors spread like fire. Ships whispered of empty human colonies. Traders spoke of vanishing fleets. Some claimed they saw human warships gathering beyond the rim, waiting. Others swore the humans had abandoned the stars entirely, but no one knew the truth. And in the council chamber, the empty chairs stood as silent monuments, heavy with meaning. The humans had departed quietly, and the galaxy trembled. Echoes of the past, the chamber of the Galactic Council did not rest after the humans' departure. Days passed, yet the silence of those empty chairs lingered like a shadow across every meeting. Delegates came and went, but no voice could replace the missing presence of humanity. It was as if a heartbeat had been taken from the council. Counselor. Dresk, with his sharp insect limbs, twitched nervously as he stared at the empty seats again. He remembered the first day humans entered the chamber. They had walked with simple uniforms, not with golden robes or jeweled crowns. They had no glowing skin, no wings, no mighty horns. Yet their eyes had burned with something more powerful than any ornament. Determination. They were never the strongest. Dresk muttered to himself, his mandibles clicking. Yet why do they haunt us even in absence? He was not the only. One haunted Counselor Venara, the scaled leader of the Sylth Dominion, stood before the great window. She could see the capital world outside, endless spires, endless fleets moving in ordered patterns. But her mind returned to a day long past, when humans had first opposed her empire. It was in this very chamber. The Sylth Dominion had brought a proposal to seize a weaker planet for its minerals. It was supposed to be routine, many species did the same, but the humans stood and spoke against it. No, their representative had said, a world belongs to its people, not to those strong enough to steal it. At first, laughter had filled the chamber. Aliens mocked the humans. The Sylth Dominion declared them naive, but the humans did not yield. They repeated their words with calm strength, not once, not twice, but every time such proposals arose. And though the votes often drowned them, their voices never disappeared. Venara clenched, her scaled fists now. That memory had been buried, ignored, yet it returned with brutal clarity. The humans had not abandoned the council suddenly. They had been warning it for years. Councillor Thakar of the Alari Union stood in silence, his robe trailing across the floor. His kind were watchers, thinkers, not warriors. He remembered another moment. The council had voted to send fleets to punish a colony that refused tribute, but humans had stood against it. "You call it tribute," their ambassador had said, his voice steady. "But it is nothing less than theft. You cannot take and call it order." Thakar had thought the words dangerous. Dangerous because they were true, and now those truths had returned heavier than ever. A younger delegate from a rising species spoke timidly. Perhaps humans simply grew tired. Perhaps they could not fight every injustice. Maybe they gave up. High Chancellor Razik turned to him slowly, his dark eyes gleaming under the chamber's light. Humans do not give up. Not in war. Not in peace. If they left, it was not because they are weak. It is because they are finished with us. A cold murmur spread through the chamber. Finished. The word echoed like a curse. The council fell into debate, voices clashing, but none carried certainty. Some claimed humans had abandoned the galaxy entirely, retreating to their own systems. Others whispered darker fears, that humans had left to build something greater in secret. But the most terrifying thought of all was simple. Perhaps the humans were not gone at all. Perhaps they were only watching. Far away, in colonies once touched by human fleets, the echoes were louder still. On a frontier mining world, a group of workers remembered the human marines who once stood guard there. "They never asked for tribute," one said bitterly. "They fought beside us and now they are gone. Who will protect us when raiders come?" On a medical colony, a Sylth doctor remembered the day a human ship had brought medicine during a plague, long before the council even voted to help. They acted first, without waiting for permission. They saved lives, and now they are silent. Everywhere, the absence of humans was felt like an open wound. Inside the chamber, Chancellor Razik stood tall at the head of the table. His voice cut through the noise.